Okay, so I'm gonna do something I've never ever done. So I'm gonna stream the whole process just in case I do something wrong. Let's make it easier to diagnose it later on. Um, and why not? Um, I mean, it's part of playing the game is how to set up things. Um, so the first thing I want to make sure is I preset these. I made a separate preferences file with the number of points battles in it, number of battle points battles. We're upping the points to 1,000, but we have the same limits: 10% artillery, 10% armor. Um, I have no idea what I'm gonna do with the extra 200 points. So that's for me. This makes it a little bit more difficult. It's probably gonna take me quite a while to figure out what to do. It won't be much bigger force. And with those limits on it, um, there won't there's no chance of taking a lot of armor and so on, which is good because I don't really want to get into too much armor. My experience with armor is quite low. Um, they there's a training scenario which I should get to sometime soon for infantry and armor together in combined operation. Like this, the second scenario. We should get to that at some point. Anyway, so we have 1,000 points. This is just the same settings as we were using in the play by email number 6. Um, this side of it is my own personal preferences, but that won't matter because that part of this side of it gets overwritten by the player's personal preferences. The games at least does that. It would be kind of annoying if the personal preferences were you forced to use the personal preferences from the other player. So for all the bugs and quirks in the game, at least that part works sensibly. So I have 1,000 points to work with. So let's get in here. So we're in play by email and start a battle. And just check preferences again, just to be sure nothing quirky happened. These are 100%. So this is not a standard setting. This is not the standard player preferences from the SPWAW 2016, which has this set to 120. So artillery is a little bit more, has a little more oomph to it. Okay, so that looks okay to me, hopefully. Okay, so this game is Germany versus Poland. Player 2 will be Poland. It's a meeting engagement. That's standard for play by email, unless agreed upon beforehand, which we haven't. So this will be in September 1939. Visibility will be 25. Maybe for the next battle I'm going to ask him if we can up that a little bit so I can see through the 1 hex of trees. I find it quite a little bit frustrating not to be able to see through 1 hex, 1 tree hex. Doesn't really seem correct, but that's how it is. That's how the game works. Once you get the longer visibility, once you're starting about 30, I think, maybe even 26, it might not be that much higher. You can actually see through 1 3 hex, but 2 hexes still block line of sight, which makes sense, and 2 smoke hexes also still block line of sight. You can see through 1 smoke hex. And I prefer that actually, because then, yeah, I mean, it does mean you can be seen a little bit easier, but it also mean, I mean, it works both ways, right? It does mean you have to hide a little bit better. You have to use concealment a little bit better, which I think is a good thing to learn. Relying on visibility to conceal your movements is not. I don't think it's the best way to go. Okay, so let's make sure we have uh, Poland set as player 2. We're in September 1939. Visibility is 25. Length is 15. Weather's random. The map is random. It'll be a small map. Okay, let's just get in there. Now, let's have a look at the map. This will tell me whether my settings are fucked up, because that's the only way I can know. Yeah, I know if I messed up the settings, then the map comes up black for me. I don't know if that's a normal thing, but if I made some kind of mistake where the nations, like it couldn't generate a map, I know I've made a mistake. Usually I can't figure out what the mistake actually is, um, which is unfortunate, but I know I've made a mistake, so I have to do it over again. And this map looks okay. Let's just have a look around. Actually, before we do that, let's look at the mission. Germany versus Poland. Here's one of those quirks of the game. When you press mission, it puts up a window, which then stays up for about 3 seconds and disappears. So it's Germany versus Poland, visibility 25. Date is 9/39. Time is 1100 hours. Length is 15 tons. Location, which is kind of a random thing they throw in there, is lots. And mission is advance, which is what you get when it's a meeting engagement. Both sides get advance. Okay, so that looks okay to me. Right. Okay, so back to the map. Now, I know for sure I'm starting on the left-hand side of the map. So, I will not be messed up by it this time. So, let's zoom out, have a look at the terrain. Actually, it's not bad for infantry. Lots of tree cover. Now, one problem, of course, is you can't actually see the victory X's on this map. The other thing you don't know is exactly where your start line is for deployment. With a 25 visibility, it's probably, if I assume this is the center of the map, so that's 47, so it'll be around 22. Okay, it's past this point. No, it's be half, just 20, visibly 25. So they're quite close together. So 25 is about 12. So it'd be 35 thereabouts. So I think the start lines will be around this position. Just at a guess. So now, of course, we don't know which way it'll angle. So you can only make a general plan. I think that was my mistake. I tried to be too specific about what I was going to do. You really should be more generally, because you don't have enough information, to be perfectly honest. Because the start line can be, it can angle any direction. It could be, it could zigzag across the map. It could be, a straight line that angles this way. Anything. So you don't know how far back you're starting, but it looks like I could potentially be starting in trees. So I think general plan, just try to keep it general, because if I get too specific, then once I find out the details of how far back I am, then I find my plan is just messed up anyway. So starting in the trees is good, but there's a problem of how fast you can move through it. Now let's see. Are we going to move on the north side of the map? think in those terms. Oh wow. Okay, well, this is bad. We seem to have Victor Hicks with 25 per turn. Okay, that was. How did that happen? I hope it wasn't something I did wrong. I guess we'll find out. What this means is that you're actually you really want to get. It's putting a lot more pressure to actually capture victory X's, I think. I didn't realize that came out randomly in play by email games. Okay, things you learn. So the center is 25 per turn. Wow. Okay. That's a lot harder. Because you can't really. Oh wow. Okay, this is really good because yeah, the Victor X's that you're gonna own at the beginning only with 10 points. Oh, this game. Wow. Okay, so you can't rely on those. I think both sides probably get the same. Yeah. Okay, so there's only 10. It's a usual cluster of 4, I think, on each end. Okay, so we definitely have to plan a capture victory hexes. Cannot be avoided. Now, center of the map. Let's look here. I think trying to take the ones in the middle is probably more difficult for me. I mean, for me, simply because it's in the open. However, moving up the sides of this map is really slow if you're starting too far back. So I think I'll be moving up either this side or this side. So I'll be moving up through the trees for sure. Or do I? No, I don't. Maybe not. I mean, if you're starting behind this hill, then that's actually not bad. Like I think any start position that I get, I can start far enough back that I won't be seen. So I said this is about the center, so I said that's 12, so 33, 32. Yeah, I have a suspicion it will be possible to start very close to the front here. Either on this side or on this side, and that I think that's probably more useful. Okay. Now I don't want to get my platoons separated this time like I did last time. That's ended up being really not very helpful. It's good to have use 2 platoons up from the company, and then the 3rd platoon is reserve in case one of the platoons gets a little bit weakened. But it's not helpful if the 3rd reserve platoon is too far away to be helpful. Too far away to come to assistance. So we're probably gonna deploy in here. Maybe the third platoon will move up into the hills, or even actually onto the hills, because this high ground is useful. This high ground is actually more useful than it was the last time. Simply because there's no trees around it. You actually have a good line of sight, although, of course, that means you can be seen if your units are moving too quickly in there. So maybe one platoon will move up through the buildings, the town. The other platoon will move up this side. That actually gives two, because there's actually two cluster. The Victory X is not in the center of the map vertically. They're actually down here. So the other one is here. Okay, I'm liking this. I'm liking this side of the map. However, if it throws me off, I can switch it to up here, because I think the plan still sort of works. One platoon moves up to the high ground, and then the other two platoons move up on the flank, and they're the ones actually can do the most of the work. These guys would just be to basically be a defensive position. It's more difficult for them to move up this way to support, so maybe a fourth platoon bought as a spare, just in case. But anyway, so we're starting with infantry. We're gonna go with the rifle company, which has been working quite well. We're still in 1939, so nothing will have changed from what we've been doing. Why did I say we? From what I've been doing before. Now, the only thing I'm going to change is that's the tank mines. We'll give them the anti-tank rifles. I think we'll have a little bit more armor this time. Okay, yeah. So my standard first purchase is a rifle company. They will. Some of the tuning I did before wasn't very useful. I think the light mortars, reattaching light mortars over here was useful, but actually having the Panzerjäger attached there, I mean, not have been that useful. It's hard to move them around anyway, and maybe just look at this as an anti-tank support unit rather than separate. Because I mean, I reduced it to being an LMG squad with a Zafira, which is kind of pointless. So really, that may be much more useful to think of them as the LMGs are there to protect the Panzerjägers when they go to work, because the enemy infantry is much more likely to want to be taking them out. So the LMGs are useful that way, maybe, and maybe take LMGs as separate squads or separate platoons. Just to cover that, like just to provide the extra firepower, rather than have them be part of the support, maybe. Okay, so now it gets more difficult. Although maybe not yet. I'm gonna go with scouts. I have 200 more points to work with, so we can splurge a little bit more than usual. Now normally I take 3 recon. If I'm going to rely on this support being more independent, then I probably should have a scout that can work with them as well. But at least 3. And for the infantry, I'm gonna go with um, um, two or four man. Two or four man. I don't know. I can never decide that. Okay, for the infantry, we'll go with two man. Yeah. Why? The advantage of the four man is they get tank mines, right? um, that's proven quite useful in the past. So, hmm. So many choices. This is actually one of the hardest part in unit purchases. Is I've seen an advantage to these ones. The two man. I mean, it's a lot. They a lot harder to spot. Um, I mean, a matter year. That's the other thing. I mean, most of the recon will be happening out here in the trees. Okay, well, we'll go with two men. Just for the heck of it, just to try that as an option, see how it works. When you don't know, just try stuff, I guess, and hopefully you actually learn something. If you don't learn anything, then I guess it's kind of pointless. So, so I think the question remains is whether to go with three. We'll go with three. So three two-man scout platoons to support the infantry rifle company. So, and next. Now at this point, I usually get my artillery, so we'll continue that. I think. Now we're still going with 10% artillery. Because why not? I mean, 1,000 points isn't really that much more. 200 points sounds like a lot, but it actually isn't. It's a lot to me because I'm not very experienced. So it's going to be a struggle to figure out what to use that 200 points for. But it's actually not really. I mean, experienced players are working with 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 point battles. So I have no idea. I think my limit will probably be around 2,000, 2,500. That's in solitaire random battles. That's what I've played. But it was difficult. There's a lot of units. That's a lot of units to buy. I've never done with those large battles. I never bought them on stream. So I'll have to see how that works out. I may have to stop. I may have to stop. I'll stream it, but I may not be able to post it to YouTube. Because they just be too damn long. Or I can split them up. I mean, that's obvious. Or, I mean, I'll probably take a break. Have to take a break in the middle of figuring out all that stuff. Okay, so infant artillery, I think. So 10% is still what 100 is 100 points. So let's just have a look at what a mortar battery costs. A full mortar battery is 123 points. However, you get a platoon HQ with that, which isn't very. I mean, that's partly where the cost is. I mean, that alone by itself, that is 13 points. Each one of these is 28 points according to that cost. buying them in batteries like this is actually cheaper, but 23 points I think is a bit too much over. That's I mean, that's 23% higher than what you're supposed to spend. That's a lot. That's a big difference. So we won't do that. Well, normally I go with mortar sections, and 2 of these are about 80 points. They just under, so it's 76 points. So we'll get 2 of those. Now, what I might actually consider, because that's 78 points, so there's another 22 points left over. I might actually consider like anti-tank guns or something, because I'm actually more concerned with being able to kill tanks rather than actually playing them. So, just have a look at how much anti-tank gun sections are. They're quite expensive though, 36 points, so might not be able to get anything there. That's annoying. It would be nice if those were... It'd be nice if those were a bit cheaper, but no. So now we're looking at, just curious, like the big guns are quite expensive. So the extra 22 points is not going to go very far, unless you take light mortars. Light mortars are they're still 42 points. You should be able to get a. Can you get a light mortar section? Platoon. It looks like you cannot. Okay, so actually the high artillery is not really going to help. The extra 22 points. Well, it's not going to help me anyway, because I'm not really sure what I'm doing here. So, yeah. Well, you can get a full light mortar platoon, but you can't get a light mortar. You can't get a light mortar section. That's annoying, actually. And the whole platoon is 42 points, which is going to put you quite a lot over. Damn. Light mortars. Nope. Yikes. Okay, that's way out. Way off. Flak section. These are actually quite cheap. Okay, so these might work. They're not that useful because the self-propelled one is better, I think. But it's expensive, very expensive. This kind of brings me close. An infantry, a 75mm infantry gun. Is in the right points range. Field gun, too expensive. What have I not looked at? Tank gun section is 36. Flak section is 22. However, this is a fixed. It's a. You need transport for this. It's not a bad thing, but just you need transport for it. So 20mm is not bad, and but it only has HE, so you can use it against infantry. But again, it needs transport because it can only be manhandled 1 hex per turn. I don't. You know what? I really need to confirm that was actually covered by it. So I'm gonna tab out of the game for a few seconds just to have a look at something. Actually, I think that's missing. I don't think that's in there anymore. I remember the discussion we had, but that's the current forum doesn't really allow for a lot of messages in here to be kept, so I've got them set to expire, which probably isn't the best idea, but down here. Oh, it actually might be in here. Six. Okay, well, this is maybe wasting too much time. We did discuss it, and my memory is now too faulty. Let's check this side. Yeah, it's going too far back. Yeah, so it may not be that anti-tank guns are encountered in that, so yeah, this is one of the complexities of the game, and that's why I'm hesitant to go to more points, because there's a lot more to learn, and I think it may be a bit too early. So, well, let's assume that it is, and just go with that. So, what was I looking at? Flak section. I mean, this would be a good buy. I think it's 20mm. But of course, using it requires transport, so I have to consider that. That's just too expensive. Heavy flak, nope. Infantry guns section. 28 points is tolerable, I think. I mean, that's 4 points over my limit. No, actually, that's the 150. Yeah, the 75 is much closer. and the 75 is more common. I try to stick with the rarity. I mean, if we don't have rarity enabled, so the rarity number doesn't actually matter. But I think it's probably good. Like in 1939, the 150 millimeter infantry gun was not very common, not in common use in the German army. So according to the rarity number, so 75 would actually be a good buy. But then again, I need transport. But that's not a bad thing. I mean, I have points to burn, so which is not a really nice way to put it. But anyway, okay, we looked at that, and yeah, that's way too expensive. If they had light mortars, then that would actually be more helpful. SS, there's no way these are reasonably priced. Okay, well, I'm going to take the forward observer now. Because that's standard practice so far, just sticking to what's standard practice for me. So, I mean, in the 800 point battle, we're not going to worry about the extra things just yet. They are, in my mind, they are extra things. So, I need 2 trucks. Truck section, is that what I got? I got the... Okay, we'll go with Opal Blitz this time. I usually get 1 section of that to carry the mortars, because they can carry 12, and the mortars are 4, 8, 12, 16, so you need 2 trucks to carry them, and the observer team if you're going to do that. So we can move the mortars around. The mortars are very slow, so far I have not had to use the trucks, but I think if I didn't buy them, I'd probably need them. So I was gonna make that like part of my normal purchase for the size battle group. I mean, obviously, the more artillery you have, the more trucks you're gonna need. So it's annoying that the anti-tank guns are not cheap. That is really annoying me, because I much prefer an anti-tank gun. Unfortunately, the field gun. Okay, that's only HE. No, field gun is not what I was looking at. Infantry gun, which apparently is not a useful unit, actually. There's talk of actually removing the infantry guns, but it'll break all the scenarios. Because there's something wrong with how the infantry gun works. It's an opportunity fire or something. So, or is it the field? Or is it the other way around? Is it the field gun that doesn't do that? But anyway, I think I'm gonna go with one of these. Let's see, they require 106. So 2 trucks again. Yeah, well, 1 truck each, really. So we're gonna go with that. So I think I'm past the point where I normally... No, first things first. Back to infantry. So any other infantry I want to get? Actually, yeah, one good idea is an engineer platoon. Haven't had a need for those, or Panzer Grenadier platoon. They actually get a vehicle. Some vehicles. Don't know. But anyway, so machine guns first. I normally take one of those. The heavy machine gun is not very portable. The speed's very slow. They can't keep up with infantry through any. Well, they could keep up in clear terrain, but this map is not. It doesn't look like that's going to be true. So one. Well, we'll actually expand that and take two. No, it's going to go with one. And there's LMG. There is LMG somewhere. Okay, so I don't know. These can keep up with infantry, no problem. So I'm actually thinking 3 to support those. I mean, the heavy MGs you keep for further back to cover, provide covering fire from a distance. That's how I use them. I try to avoid having them too close to the enemy. Although in the first battle, the first email battle, they actually got very close because the enemy was able to advance very easily. Unfortunately for me. Well, we have the points. Let's see how it looks. Oh, no. That's not what I wanted to do. Okay, so we're gonna go there, and we'll go with 2 heavy machine guns, and let's see if the platoon with it. No, that's the heavy machine gun. LMG section. There's no LMG platoon. Okay, so it said 3 sections. Okay, and that's should I buy the transport for these guys right away or what? I don't know. Yeah, I think I should. That way I don't forget. So we'll actually get rid of these, but at least have a look and see how much they need. Wait, 4. Yeah, right. See, the way the game counts, the way the game counts how much you need to carry something is really not very realistic. Like mortar units, I mean, they don't count the ammo. The the ammo is not counted at all. Like an 81mm mortar with 50 rounds of ammo. Okay, 4 men are not carrying that. It's just not possible. 50 rounds of ammo requires a truck close by, any kind of vehicle close by in order to keep to carry that around. So yeah, there's a lot of those other things where you go, okay, well, yeah, they just didn't get that right at all. But it's something that's hard to change. I mean, um, they, for example, the team that made, the enhanced mod is, they discussed where they're currently discussing whether that was an option to actually raise that. And basically, I mean, no, you can't, because everybody would freak out, right? Like you'd have to buy 3 trucks just to carry your one mortar section. So yeah, everybody would freak out, and it just would not sit well with most people. So yeah, that was kind of, I think that idea was floated and is no longer up for discussion. So okay, so I'm actually gonna do the trucks now. Now they need 4 men. That's a total of 16 men. We can use trucks, or we can use off tracks. Probably might be better. They offer a bit more flexibility. How many do you get in a section? You have 2 of them, and they can carry 12 men. Actually, I only need 1. No, those are 4 men, right? Damn, that's my memory. Can't remember anything. My excuse is I'm getting old. Well, and it's just an excuse. I always had a bad memory, even when I was very young. So it's not really a thing about getting old. It's just I have shit memory. There's a saying, short-term memory is always the first to go. Well, it's bullshit. My short-term memory has always been crap. So even when I was very young, I mean, if I studied and memorized things, then I would shift to long-term memory and it will work. But like just looking at something like this, it doesn't soak in at all. So we need 4. So that's a total of 16. That means actually 1 half track can do it. No, 2 half tracks. It has to be a section. We have to go with a half track section because each one can carry 12 men. But yeah, I mean it's kind of it's kind of more than you need. But it's probably more flexible because I can separate them. Yeah, that's a better idea. So let's get one of those. Because I think, well, the reason getting half tracks for these, even though they're more expensive, is because they're much more likely to have to move around inside of enemy positions, and the off tracks will help a little bit, but you don't want to get them too close. I mean, these off tracks are vulnerable to machine gun fire, and they're quite expensive. And they cost 28 points, so it's not something you really want to throw around. So maybe I'm better off getting trucks. Maybe. Certainly, the truck section can do the job. And it carries the same amount, but it's only worth 12 points if they get blown up. The reason the off-track's more expensive is because it has a gun on it, so it makes it far more useful than a truck. Let's have a look at the map. Instead of just buying stuff randomly. Now the heavy machine guns will be useful up here. Okay, looking at that, do I really need more than 1? the heavy machine gun is really something you want to put in position um, at the beginning and not have to move them. But I mean, you don't always get that kind of a lucky situation where you can do that without, um, you know, easily. So so far of the 2 points battles, only the first one was I was in a convenient position. So they most very likely have to be moved into a position up here. Yeah, I think the second one would more likely be used in this area or in that area, but then they would need to be in vehicles. So, um, half tracks or trucks? That's really the question. Or no transport at all for them. I think I'll go with the half track section. Yeah, it's expensive, but like I said, I have 200 more points to spend than I did before, and I have no idea what I'm going to spend it on. So we'll just go down this road and see where I end up. When in doubt, just make things up. Okay, so where are we at? Okay, well, I was looking at light machine gun. It's gonna go with 3 sections of that. Extra firepower for these ones. It's not like they don't have enough, but just in case. Like I said, I have 200 extra points to burn. I have no idea what to spend it on, so we'll just try stuff. Okay, so let's have a look at the map again. Now, if I take in an infantry gun, where could it be useful? I mean, how could I get it into a position where it could be used? Well, so, I mean, one possibility is actually moving them up in through the road. This is actually useful. That's a good idea, because moving up is, I do have a road where I can move vehicles up without them being seen too easily, assuming I control this high ground. I do need to worry about the other side of the map, so that is something that has to be considered later on. I do need something on that side to at least lightly defend it if necessary. It may come down to a separate light rifle platoon to do that job. Maybe. Okay, so I don't know what's next. So I was looking at the artillery. Back to here. I was considering an infantry gun section, which is exceedingly cheap. To be honest, I'm gonna go with the 75 millimeter. There's gotta be a reason why they're so cheap, and I expect it's to do with how they can't be used as indirect fire. Like you can't call the attack up. Like you can't, the forward observer cannot use them as artillery fire. They have to be used in the direct fire mode, which of course puts them at risk. Whereas the field gun can be used both ways. Since it's a howitzer, you can actually the forward observer has contact with them. They have a 90% chance of radio, so they can actually be called in as indirect fire, which is why they're so expensive. They are actual, honest to goodness artillery. Whereas the other one is something you roll into place and fire at whatever you can. Now, unfortunately, they don't have armor piercing, so it's not really what I'm hoping for. Now, maybe a possibility is actually Yeah, 'cause if I do this, I'd have to back up. But that's okay. That's the problem when you're trying things, right? Sometimes because I prefer to keep things clustered together so that later on it's because I find it sticks in my head a little better what I did before, and so grouping like I mean you could buy mortar sections anytime you want, but I tend to forget later on what I did, so I buy all the artillery together, well the indirect stuff anyway. So like a field gun section is actually way more effective. Um, so if I took one of these out, one of the mortar sections out, and I replaced it with a field gun section. Hey, okay. Actually, it still puts me in. Still puts me in kind of an odd range. I think the mortars may be more useful, I think. Yeah, I think I'll stick with the mortars. I mean, the only possibility is to crank this up, because then it'll be 70 plus 38. 70 plus 38 is, so we got 108 points, which I think is reasonable. That's only 8% over. Well, that's still pretty high. That's pretty high. I mean, I think 1 or 2% is acceptable. Once you get over like 5%, it's like, yeah, I think you're cheating a little bit. So, I'm trying to be, not trying to squeeze out as whatever I can. Like I mean, the mortars I had before, they were actually under the 80 points. They weren't over at all. So I mean, which I think is for me that's the better way to do it. It's safer, and in fact, I try not to go over at all, because if you said, well, it's 10% limit, then I mean, if you meant a 15% limit, then you would say a 15% limit. If you meant a 12% limit, then you would say a 12% limit, right? 10% limit means it has to be under, in my mind. So that's just how I'm thinking about it. Then this is 75 millimeter. I think this probably hits as a bigger punch than the mortars have. So, I mean, I could replace one of the mortars with that. I'd still have the problem though. If not, I still have 20 points left over on what to do with it. So yeah, I go around in circles. Yay. Well, that's what happens when you don't know what you're doing, right? I mean, no. Let's go with the infantry gun, and we definitely gonna need transport for it. This puts me a little bit over, because I'm at 78 points now. This will be 102 points, so it's a little bit over 2%. I'm gonna say that to myself. That's okay. With a 75 millimeter. The problem, of course, is you do need transport for it. So basically, you're using up points for things you might not actually use during the battle. So I'm gonna give them. So what do they need? I should have looked at that first. Infantry gun. $106. There's 2 guns. No, each section has 2 guns in it. Right, each section has 2 guns in it. Okay, so that's a total of 12. 1 half track, actually. No, they can't. Because it's 106, it only needs 2 half tracks. So we need another half track section. More pricey stuff. half tracks to tow the. Yep, 2 half tracks. Because obviously a half track can only tow one thing. That's what the 100 means. It actually, these guys can carry up to very, very large things. They can carry very large guns. Looks like they can carry 226. No, 112. What am I? The carry pod is this one here. So they can carry 12 men. Yeah, the gun needs 6 men, but it also needs to be in the 100 range. So we're good there. I think. I hope. Yeah, this is getting complicated. So I have 142 points left, which is pretty much where I normally end up when I start looking at armor. So I'm going to go with my light. Light tanks again. They work out quite well for me. Could upgrade to Mark IIs, which have a slightly bigger gun. They're still a machine gun though. It's a 20mm rapid fire. Actually, no, it's not. It's actually a 20mm gun. Like an actual artillery piece. Small caliber, but still. Whereas this one only has machine guns. That puts us 60 points. They can still only carry 4 men. So if I take one section and add some 4-man scouts to support them, I think that might work. But it takes 4 tanks to carry. It takes 3 tanks to carry carry the scouts. So okay, well, if we do 2 sections of light tanks, let's just try it and see what happens. So I have 2 sections of light tanks. We're now down to 22 points. So that's not gonna work. Basically ending up with actually let's see how much the scouts will cost. Where are we? Where did we end up? 4-man scouts. So 1 platoon is 27 points. I don't have enough. Yeah, that worked out. Not. So what we'll do is we'll back up here and take that one out. Switch it for Mark 1s. I'm happy with this. I don't really want to go too tank heavy, and actually in my past experience with buying units for my solitary games, I always end up being tank heavy. 2,000 points. It's like afterwards, it's like, wow, I bought so many tanks. It's just ridiculous. It's not worth it because I didn't use them properly, right? So it really wasn't worth it. I need to learn better tactics first before making. And I think it's a common mistake for beginners is to buy a lot of tanks, and then not use them well. Okay, so back to the armor. I'm actually gonna switch that to. So I mean, here's the thing. We have Panzer section, which is a main battle tank. Like the cheapest one you can get is a 35 is a 35T, which has a 37mm gun on it. But that's 70 points for 2. They get kind of expensive, so. So I'm gonna avoid that. I mean, like a Mark III is, we're getting to the top of the line for 1939. They actually were rare. They weren't that common in Poland during 1939 for the Germans. Yeah, same with the 38T. Actually, none of these. They all have a rarity greater than 0, so there's a small chance you wouldn't get it if rarity was on. Yeah. So back to light, and we're gonna go back to this, which gives this slightly cheaper, and that allows me to buy infantry scout platoon. 4-man is 27 points. Got 19 points left. Maybe able to buy a sniper. Yay! I can buy a sniper. There we go. I think that's gonna do it for me. And there's still some streaming time left. I may actually do something else. So let's have a review. What we got? So we got a rifle company. 3 2-man scout platoons to support the rifle company. We have 2 mortar sections, observer team, some trucks to carry the mortars if necessary. I've upgraded up to 2 heavy machine guns and half-tracks to carry them. And half-tracks have machine guns, so they have more utility value, more battle value than the trucks do. But they're expensive units, so if they get blown up, you lose a lot of points, which is probably what's going to happen to me. Okay, so and then I've gone with 3 LMG sections to support the rifle company. On those, they'll work. My idea is they'll work more closely with them, whereas the heavy machine guns I keep them further back because they have a much longer range. Then I've gone with a 75mm infantry gun section. There's 2 guns in there. And some half-tracks to tow them if necessary. And actually what's probably going to happen is, well, I mean, these guns need machine guns around them, so what may happen is one of these will probably be need to be kept close to the infantry guns, protect them from infantry assault. There's not much you can do against mortar fire. Fortunately, that's how it goes. And unfortunately, if they get spotted, mortar fire can take them out fairly easily. That's the nature of guns, guns that are in the field. Then we're gonna go with a Mark II and a Mark I. Mark II section and a Mark I section, so a slight improvement over my normal purchase, which is 2 Mark Is. I'm happy with that. I'm not looking to go tank heavy here. I don't think you can with 1,000 points anyway. And some 4-man scouts to support the tanks, and a sniper. I think that's it. Leaves me with 4 points, which is pretty damn good. That's nice, a nice close number. I used all of the points, and I don't think I spent anything on really frivolous stuff. I didn't go tank heavy, which it could be tempting with 1,000 points. Oh, you 200 points. We could add Mark Is, Mark III tanks or something. But But if you look at the price of these, I mean, you know, they're pretty cheap. On this map, maybe they won't be that useful, right? I mean, there's a lot of tree cover here. They'd be useful in the center, but maybe not that much. So I don't think it's a map that suits tanks really. Well, once you get past the center of it, maybe, but still, they'd be confined to the center area, I think. Anyway, I think with 1,000 points, too many tanks would probably not be a good idea for me. So that's what I'm going to go with. And hopefully I've done this correctly and I haven't wasted time. If I have, too bad. You guys get to see it over again. Well, yeah, yes you will, actually. Okay, so we're done. Set